Welcome to Why Are You Awake? Paul Farahvar here, your host. This week we have comedian Tommy Brennan. If you don't follow him already, please do. He's amazing. He's got a new Don't Tell comedy special you could check out as well. Check that out. If you're listening to this podcast, go over and watch it on YouTube. The link is there, especially for this one because, like an idiot, I forgot to put the high resolution sound on this, so it kind of sounds like we're on a Zoom, but if you watch it, it's a little better than the audio. It's kind of hard to explain, but you'll see what I mean. Great episode. Love Tommy Brennan. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast at youtube.com/Paul F Comedy or wherever you're listening to it. That's cool too, if you prefer to listen to podcasts. Also, go to my website, paulfcomedy.com, for my upcoming dates. Follow me on Instagram and on YouTube as well. And also, check out our sponsors. Hey gang, as some of you know, I used to be a practicing lawyer in Chicago. I no longer practice, but from time to time, I need a lawyer. And when I need a lawyer, I call my friend Scott Shapiro. Scott Shapiro has been practicing law for over 25 years in Chicago. He does it all, from workers' compensation to personal injury, employment issues, and even entertainment law and contract needs. If you need a lawyer, call my friend Scott. 312-648-8800. That's 312-648-8800. Or you can email him at scott@scottshapirolegal.com. Tell him I sent you. You're welcome. It's time for another edition of Why Are You Awake? Paul Farahvar here, your host. This week we have the one and only Tommy Brennan, who joins me right now. Comedian Tom Brennan.
Hello.
How are you, buddy?
I'm good, dude. How are you?
I'm swell.
Good.
I wanted to talk to you about a lot of things. First of all, congrats on all this amazing shit that you've been doing.
Oh, thanks, man.
You just blew the fuck up. It's funny because I talk about it on the pod sometimes where during COVID, some people like just kind of waited it out.
Yeah.
And other people just got really, really good at it. And I remember we did a show together on Zoom during COVID. Yeah. I think I had to follow you, and I was like, okay, whatever. Tommy's great. We've done shows together.
It'd be a layup.
Solid comic. And I was actually working, like I was doing shows in red states that did in COVID. So I was like, I'm gonna crush it. And you murdered in a Zoom show. I was like, oh fuck, these kids are good.
God, that's so funny.
I don't remember
murdering in a Zoom show. It was like, you know, a couple
it's a
people
different
in the
skill
comments
set.
Was like, they were like, wow, great job. Yeah, that was the first time I'd ever lived with comedians. I moved into that insane comedy house with like Alex Dragovich and Chris Higgins.
Oh yeah.
And I think like we were all kind of doing Zoom shows, and that did make me like we were all still pitching jokes to each other.
Right.
Like if I had been living alone at the time, there's no way I would have been writing new stuff. I hated every other aspect of having 4 roommates, but that part was nice. I do remember that. Like we would like walk out into the living room and like pitch jokes, seemingly kind of for no reason because it was like we have nowhere to test it. But then some Zoom shows, you know.
Did you do those shows? But you did some shows.
I did a few. I didn't actively seek them out. Some of the money for those Zoom shows wasn't bad because it would be like a corporate event. So I did a few like corporates where like you know it was just like a team meeting that
I don't remember which show we did, but I know we got paid well.
Yeah.
I think it was before I actually did a show, but I actually went and started doing real shows during COVID like, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't go back to Zoom. I was like, there's no way. Once you've tasted the real world.
You went out to the states that shut down for 45 minutes and then reopened. Yeah.
I closed my law firm March 1st, 2020 for good. And then 2 weeks later, I was like, I need to work.
Oh my God.
So I freaked the fuck out. I remember my first show was in Tulsa, like 3 months later. And I was like, Looney Bin, yeah. Go. It was like, I was just there this weekend again, surprisingly.
Yeah.
They remodeled it. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I remember I called like one of those shitty people that hit you up with shows for like $50. Yeah. I was like, I'll take anything.
I'll do it. Yeah.
Just get me on the road.
They're like, yeah, $50, no hotel. You're like,
I'm in.
Boom. Sounds incredible.
6-hour drive. What else am I gonna
try to sell some merch, make up for the cost.
Yeah.
That's oh man.
I just went right away. But
I kind of panicked and went to the woods for a little while. I think that was the most creative I've ever been in my life.
You were in you went back to Minneapolis?
I went, northern Minnesota, like 4 hours north of Minneapolis.
That's where you're from, that area?
Yeah, I'm from St. Paul, in between
Okay.
Minneapolis and St. Paul, but my grandparents have this place in the woods. There was no one up there, and my grandpa died right at the start of COVID, and I was like, oh, I'll just go up there. Like, it was kind of like a half, like, let's mourn him in the place where we always hung out, but then also it was just like, I can't do anything. I was working remotely. I had like a corporate remote job. So I was just like, let me do it from the cabin in the woods.
You went by yourself or your family?
I was there by myself for like 32 days, I think.
Dear God.
Right at the start, yeah.
And you liked it?
Oh my God. I crave it, so I want it to happen. I've tried to recreate it, and I can't make it happen.
Bon Iver did that.
Yeah.
I don't know. He did that in Wisconsin. He wrote one of the best albums.
Yeah, I was a little less productive than him, but...
But I always think about that. I was like, I don't think I could do that. I was home alone for like maybe a week in this place, and I was like, I'm fucking going nuts.
I couldn't do that either.
What's the difference between being holed up
in the woods? It's the woods. It's the difference. Every morning I would wake up, I'd make my coffee, and then I'd walk for like an hour, literally just in nature. And
what if fucking buried?
There's like no threats up there. It's amazing. It's like you're risk free. It's a lake. You can jump in the lake every day.
Wow.
It was still frozen, I guess, when I got up there. I was sad. I was for sure like, there were times where it wasn't like, I wasn't instantly creative. I think there's like a 2-week period where you need to be like, kind of like figure out who you are alone. And then it was like the last week that I was alone, I don't know, part of it was like, I knew my family was going to start coming up. 2 of my sisters were like, we're going to come. And so maybe I knew it was my last time alone, but I made like 4 of the things I'm like proudest of in the last week, which was like this weird music video about living in the woods by myself. There's this little web series, or like little TikTok series about finding Narnia. And I made it all in the last week, and it was because I was going a little crazy, I think.
Yeah, we all did.
Yeah, and it was like being alone for that long, those ideas, they just kind of like percolate, and then eventually you're like, all right, I gotta just get this out of me.
Yeah.
I gotta just make it.
I like being alone. When I go to Florida a lot to check on my family, I have a place that I get to crash like on the beach
by yourself,
by myself.
Incredible.
I love it. I also like need to see people. So like I'll go into the village where there's like crowds and shit. I'll just walk around with a cigar and just watch shit.
Yeah.
But living in the woods is something that I don't think I could ever. I don't like camping.
All right, yeah. So you're just not like a woods guy. Yeah. I'd say I solo camp a decent amount. I like the simplicity of like when I drove out. I moved from LA to New York a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And when I drove across the country and I did several nights of like just camping by myself. I was originally like filling it with one-nighters. Yeah. And then I was like, let me just not kill myself on the way here. So I did a few nights of just solo camping. What I realized, what I like is it's meditative because you just get there and all you have to do is like survive. You get there, you set up your tent, and then you have to make dinner. And making dinner at a campsite does take like, you gotta get firewood, you gotta make a fire, you gotta cook.
You do all that.
Clean it all up. Yeah. And then by the time you're done with that, it's like 9:30, sun's going down, you can smoke a little weed, have a whiskey, whatever, and sit by the fire. And then you're in bed by like 11. It's amazing. It doesn't cross my mind to be like, I should edit a clip right now.
First of all, I do not see you as a person that is self-sufficient like that. You seem like you seem like me.
Yeah,
where you're like it didn't work. Look at these hands. They've
I
never worked manual labor.
I have some of the softest hands of all time. Yeah.
I just figured, I assumed that you were like me. And when you say this shit, I'm like, I thought I knew you.
No,
I don't.
No, I've got a little woods side, but it's because grew up in Minnesota. My parents they're campers. We have 8 kids.
Right.
We didn't take very fancy vacations. Camping was like most of our vacations.
You were from like an upper middle class.
Yeah, my dad's a doctor, but my
I
mom
knew that.
was a stay-at-home mom.
Did you see Boy Scouts or something?
No, I was at this place in the woods a lot growing up. That was kind of our Boy Scouts. It's co-owned now by my dad's whole side of the family. We have 42 first cousins on that side. So we grew up like going up there and playing in the woods.
I'm impressed. I could never survive a day.
I'm kind of I take pride in it.
I'm just proud of the fact that I learned how to change a tire at 30.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
I just turned 30. I can't change a tire.
Really? If I got stuck in the woods, I would die within 6 hours.
What would be your first move?
Okay, so let's say my car, I think about this all the time when I'm driving in Minneapolis, when I'm coming to or from like a show at St. Paul. Or if the car dies, I'm stuck somewhere and there's no phone.
Yeah.
My first move would be to try to find light where there's somebody that can help me get food or get me to a 7-Eleven.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all I could do.
Yeah.
But if
you
I
get to a 7-Eleven, that's
once,
so funny.
Once that's not an option, like that's where I would just be in full panic.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know where to start.
Would you shut down or would you go crazy?
I would probably try. I'm really good under pressure in situations like court. If I'm a lawyer.
Sure. Yeah.
But when I have no knowledge of anything, I wouldn't even know where to start. I would look at like leaves and say, should I eat this?
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
2 hours in.
Yeah. And then I would look for roadkill maybe, but I think that's a bad idea now that I think of it. But I wouldn't even know how to start a fire.
My brother is on this weird email list in Minnesota where if a deer gets hit and it's like salvageable, he'll butcher it.
Yeah.
And
I've seen people do that.
It's crazy. I think it's one of the grossest things of all time. One time he made me like this venison stew thing, and then afterwards he told me it was a roadkill deer, and I was so mad at him.
I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't even know where to start. I would be dead in like 2 minutes. Yeah, this is a new revelation. I thought I knew you.
Yeah, no. I have a very pampered side as well.
You did my podcast Singles Only in 2019. We just found out episode 186. And I remember when I first met you, I don't know if I told the story then. I remember doing Mom's Place open mic. Maggie DiPaolo and Bridget McGuire, friends of the show, let me go up like right away.
Yeah.
And I remember I saw your set and you talked about having a doctor dad.
I remember this as well.
Oh, did I? I was nice, right?
You were super complimentary.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had to watch. I was like, oh shit, I hope he doesn't talk about the stuff I talk about. But you didn't. And I was like, this guy's good. And I remember I told Maggie, I go, who's that? And then I went and introduced myself.
Yeah, you were like, my dad's a doctor too, and I think you said something along those lines. You were like, I have some of those same sounding premises, but I love where you took it. That's not where I took it. And I remember being pumped because it's like, I was probably Mom's Place. I was probably under a year in.
Okay.
Or maybe a year in, and and then it's like, you were already headlining in Chicago and stuff, so it's like, I was like, all right,
You're doing something
I'm doing something right, yeah.
Oh,
like,
good.
I'm getting a compliment from this guy who's like a professional comedian. That's huge.
And look at us now.
And now it's fun. Maggie featured for me last night.
That. Yeah, she's great. She's going up too.
Yeah, she's doing great. I actually loved that open mic.
Yeah, it was a fun mic.
It was a good one. Yeah.
Mom's Place downtown or something.
It was like
they did it professionally.
It was a lot of comics that that was kind of their only mic they would do. Yeah. So they would stay and watch, and they would actually laugh because they weren't like the super jaded doing 12 open mics a week.
Yeah, I do remember that, and I talk about situations like that all the time on this show where I'll go out of my way when someone does well that I like, that I thought was funny, but I also, on the flip side of that, which I'll ask you about. If somebody bombs, I get mad when someone says good set. If you see someone right before you just not do well, what do? I'm trying to end the don't say good set.
No, I don't do that because I think it comes off, especially if you respect them as a comedian, it's insulting to be like, good set.
Right.
Because when someone does that to me, I'm like, so you either didn't watch, so just don't say anything to me, or you watched and you think that that was good for me. And then that's like even worse. If someone does it, like it happens all the time still with like good comics. I just don't say anything. If they want to talk, if they bring it up or whatever, you just be honest. It's like yeah, they were tight or whatever,
Yeah.
No, mostly I just go. I let people go because that's what I want. If I bomb, I just want people to kind of ignore me unless I clearly want to talk about it.
Now that's your peers. What about, let's put a situation here, and this happened to me recently, where your feature or someone that's opening for you doesn't do well. They're looking at you, they just came off stage, they don't have self-awareness yet that you and I have.
I mean, sometimes I'll be like, they're a little tight, if they want to talk. Otherwise, I just won't say anything. Yeah.
Okay, good. So I yelled at Adam Burke once when we were doing a show together. Okay. He said good set to someone. I was like, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
Especially at your level, if you say that to somebody, they're going to remember that.
Yeah.
And I feel like the opposite of what you and I had, you actually did really something impressive and I went out of my way to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just say good set to someone, you're Tommy Brennan. You told someone, you're like an established comic and you're telling this guy who's maybe it's his first time hosting, good set, and then he continues comedy.
Sure, yeah. No, yeah, we should try to get more people quick. But I think you can also say like, I like your stuff, because that's like a different. Good set is so clearly like dismissive especially when it's bad, a dumb thing to say. But you can say, like, I like your stuff. Like, it's...
Even if you don't like it?
Well, I wouldn't, then, yeah. No,
Okay,
but if
you
I
don't
do...
like them...
Because sometimes you watch someone bomb, and I'm like, they have something there. It's just
potential,
not...
right.
Yeah, it's just not... It didn't work. I'll say stuff like that, or I'll try to pick one thing sometimes. With a feature, like if it's a local feature... I try to watch the whole set just to see if I can reference anything or make sure there's no overlap.
Of course. I'm trying to end the one goal
I like that.
of the podcast is to
That's great.
end positive reinforcement when it's not needed.
Just fake, yeah.
People, you forget how much influence you have on somebody. You got to be responsible with it.
I pretty much remember everything that someone who is higher than me has ever said to me in comedy.
Think about that.
Yeah. I mean, because I remember that interaction me and you at Mom's place.
But I'm saying, like, imagine if
it was bad.
Yeah, if it was bad and I said, good set, you'd remember that.
Well, I probably wouldn't be...
Well, now you'd be like, that guy's an idiot.
Yeah.
But you have self-awareness. Like, I do these shows sometimes in certain places where the openers just don't have awareness.
So bad. Yeah.
And, like, right after they bomb, they'll be like, hey, if you ever need a opener, I'm like, yeah, I'd rather just take my chances.
You know what I always ask when I can tell it's like a cocky comic who's like doing poorly? Like I'll watch the whole set and know that they suck. And then afterwards I go, what'd you think? How was it? And then I love watching, because you kind of have to make them be like, yeah, they were great. And I'm like, oh, you're an idiot.
You don't know.
I know everything I need to know about you.
Right.
You know? Because I'd much rather it just be like, oh, like they're, you know, they'll be good, but I struggled with it or whatever. Have some self-awareness. It's okay to admit it. But then those are the people that you're like, oh, so you've never done well. You don't know what it feels like.
I think what we're seeing lately, I've seen lately, is people think that if they're shocking or they do something like, edgelordy or whatever, that it didn't work because the crowd wasn't on board.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you guys are soft.
They didn't like that I said the R word. I'm like, no, you didn't even use it in a good way.
No, you just thought that was the punchline. Shout out Tony Hinchcliffe and the entire Kill Tony production.
Well, see, but that's the thing. They try to, Tony is embracing that.
It's like, you take Jesselnick, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He's one of the most brilliant joke writers of all time. People think that the worst interpretation of his comedy is like that it's shock value. It's not. And so people say, well, he talks about finding dead babies in the woods, so I'm going to. But it's like, but the way he wrote that joke was unbelievable, and you can't do that.
Yeah, that's the thing that people have this privilege now, probably from Kill Tony, where if they're shocking, they think that it's going to be funny.
Yeah.
And that's why it's funny.
And it does well online sometimes.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but you see them live, and you're like, you're absolutely bombing in the room with this joke that for some reason has 2.8 million views on Instagram. Like
Anthony Jeselnik, when I started, I don't know who your person was. When I started, I wanted to be like him. That was who did you sound like the most?
John Mulaney, for sure.
Oh yeah,
I could see that. He was my favorite. I mean, there were jokes that I wrote that were basically like, it's not, I wasn't stealing from him, but it was like formulaic, the exact same way he would, where it was like the same rhythm. Like looking back, I'm like, oh my God.
He influenced me as well, especially the storytelling. Like,
yes.
But yeah, Jeselnik was the one, and I go back to my first few sets, and it was just so, I mean, I was just...
Fully impersonating him.
Oh God, I wasn't impersonating him so much, it's just... like those kids who are getting 2.8 million followers. I was just trying to be shocking and kind of like misogynistic on a couple of jokes.
Okay,
that would never work now.
Right.
This is 13 years ago, 12 years ago. Funny. You started, how long did you start?
6.5 years.
You started here or in Minneapolis?
Started here.
Okay.
Yeah.
You moved to Chicago for comedy?
Moved here from San Francisco. I was like 9 months into a job. I moved out there after school. Worked there for like 9 months. I was working in tech sales for LinkedIn. I was trying to start doing something creatively. I thought I wanted to maybe try to get into acting, and then I signed up for an acting class there, and I showed up and the doors were locked, and I like couldn't get in, and then I got an email like an hour later being like, oh, you were the only one that signed up. Sorry, we canceled it. And I didn't.
Sounds like a sign.
It was crazy. And I'm not kidding, like 4 days later, got an offer with LinkedIn, the same company, to move to Chicago.
Yeah.
I had always loved... I had only been to Second City once. I have always been like an SNL fan, and I loved that early aughts era of SNL, which was like all Second City people. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go to Chicago and do Second City. And then I did that for 6 months and then started stand-up, just kind of on the side, realizing that I kind of craved the hustle of it. It's so cheesy to say, but like you do improv and sketch, it's a lot of waiting around for other people to be available and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then stand-up, I really loved, like, the second I started, I was like, oh, I can just go to an open mic every night.
Yeah.
Started kind of switching over fully to stand-up pretty much right away. And then, yeah.
You went to high school in Minneapolis?
St. Paul.
St. Paul,
yeah. Grew up there.
What were you like in high school?
I was like a student government nerd. I was a theater kid.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I didn't picture that.
I was an athlete growing up. I always did theater too. Always did musical theater. Starting when I was like 8, my sisters got me into it. I didn't want to because I was like, sports are the way. And then I was I went through puberty when I was like 18 years old.
Yeah.
So through high school, the sports just kind of had to taper off because like I couldn't play hockey. Freshman in high school, I was 4'11".
Same.
And
I was 5'1".
Yeah. And I got to 5'3" by senior year. By the end of senior year, I was like 5'7". But it was like sports-wise, I just like couldn't keep up. So then I kind of switched fully to theater and I played soccer all the way through, but it was like mostly theater, student government stuff. It all boils down to, looking back after years of therapy, is like I just loved attention.
Yeah. You're the youngest?
I'm 6 down.
6 of 8?
Yeah. My only other brother is the oldest. So it was like one boy in the middle of 6 girls. And I loved like the extra attention I got for that. And then I like was a little bit of a child actor. I got to do like, regional commercials and stuff that.
Were you partying in high school or were you?
No, I was like pretty
straight edge.
My family, it's kind of funny. It goes almost every other kid partied and got in trouble, and then the next one
made up.
Wasn't.
Yeah.
So it was like, because it would be like whoever you're following, you're learning from them and doing kind of the opposite.
Okay.
My sister, who's like, she's 2 years older than me, she didn't like get in a ton of trouble, but she just like partied in high school a little bit, got in trouble for like throwing a couple parties at the house. And I was just kind of like, I'm not going to do that till college.
Where'd you go to college?
Notre Dame.
Okay. Oh, yeah. God.
So I partied in school.
Well, partying in Notre Dame is kind of like watered down.
All right. Yeah.
I didn't know you went to Notre Dame.
Yeah, some
so really smart.
Are not worth it. No, I was good at getting good grades.
Okay.
I was like a pretty bad student in college.
Okay.
I couldn't figure out like how to actually learn something. I cheated too, for sure.
In class.
More so, I would be like, I would find every way to get extra credit. I'd be like teacher's aides here and there.
Yeah.
It was like, I always figured out a way. But then in college, you kind of have to prove that you're
smart.
actually smart. I was failing pre-med immediately. So I had to switch.
Were you in a fraternity there?
Notre Dame's weird.
They don't really.
They're single-sex dorms, so that is your frat. Like, that's who you get, like, hazed by. That's who you play sports for. When you move off campus, you're still, like I was Morrissey. We were, like, the Morrissey house off campus.
Got it. What kind of trouble were you getting into there?
I didn't get in trouble. We just drank a lot.
Okay.
The only time I ever got in real trouble... Actually, I got in trouble 2 times in college. One time was, like, for throwing the freshman... we would call it disorientation. So like the week after their orientation, we'd throw a big party off campus. And then like one year when we were kind of in charge of it, we, like a couple kids went to the hospital. So then it's like, we got in trouble for that. We had to go in, we had to all get our stories straight. It felt like the mob getting busted. It was so funny.
Like, were you standing or sitting when they saw you? You're like, oh, fuck, we forgot.
Exactly. It was like, what kind of liquor was it? And like, who was standing on the table with his shirt off? And it was like, I'd have to be like, it was Liam. It was Liam.
Yeah.
Then the other time I got in trouble, I cheated. So a guy who was 2 years older than me in my dorm took my same philosophy class like 2 years prior.
Oh,
and he gave me all of his shit.
Right.
And then I plagiarized his paper and then got called in and they were like, hey, you plagiarized like a famous philosopher. He had plagiarized someone, didn't get caught, and then I plagiarized him, plagiarizing
like, that's
someone.
not who I plagiarized.
I was like, no, I didn't. And they were like, yeah, you did. And then they showed me it, and I was like, holy shit. And then I couldn't rat him out because that wouldn't have gotten me out of the.
So what happened?
I got them to give me like a D instead of an F in the class, and my GPA was shot after that.
My very last class in college was called Severe and Unusual Weather. I needed a science class, and it was supposed to be a blow-off. Severe and unusual. You would think.
Where'd you go to school?
Illinois, University of Illinois, Harvard of the Midwest. My girlfriend was in the class. I was working at a bar. I'm like, I just want to get a C. I just want to get a C. I don't care. This was not a blow-off. So I'm failing the class. And we come up with this elaborate plan, so I'm just going to sit next to her and cheat off of her on the final. She was a pretty good-looking girl, and so I was like cheating. All of a sudden, Proctor comes over. He's like, you guys step aside, come see me, and they take her. So I just change all my answers. So like,
Smart.
Yeah.
You're like, I'll fail the test, but I won't get caught.
yeah, they thought she was cheating off of me because
Wow.
she's like this good-looking girl, and I'm like a Middle Eastern kid.
Unbelievable. Holy shit.
They gave her an oral exam, and then the main professor was like, "She didn't cheat. You're an idiot." That would have been my last class, and I would have had to stay.
Wow, just complete bias. Do you ever tell that story?
No, I should tell it as a story in terms of I got
because that is a crazy, like, it's like weirdly racist and misogynistic
at the same time,
but like
was
you
a white
benefited
dude.
off it.
Yeah,
he saw a hot girl. She was white.
She was a white girl.
She was a hot white girl.
Hot white girl.
Middle Eastern dude.
And I'm a Middle Eastern dude.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
And I ended up getting a C or a D, but I passed.
God, the guy was like, "Listen, I get it. I would cheat off him too. I know. This is probably a genius. You're a bar DJ. Unbelievable."
Well, yeah, and the best part about it is he probably just thought we didn't know each other because like she was out of my league.
Yeah.
I was batted out of my league, and
okay, humble brag.
well, I'm self-deprecating as well. So he would never ever known.
Yeah.
So you only got in trouble twice, or not even really trouble.
No.
Were you staying up late back then, or not really?
I've always been. Yeah.
Night out?
My entire life. Yeah.
Even as a kid?
Yeah, I sucked at going to bed. I still do.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
What's your schedule now these days?
I go to bed at like between 2 and 3 most nights.
Same.
Yeah. I think I've kind of accepted it. I am trying to move a little bit more towards being a morning person, but because, and not like a full-on morning. When I say morning person, I mean like someone who's productive by like 10 a.m.
Okay. That's a morning person.
Yeah. Like I'm staying with one of my best friends from college, and it's like him and his wife are both working by 6:50. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, I would like sneak into our basement and watch TV late at night. I just always loved staying up late. I would read late into the night. Through college, I was like a massive procrastinator. I would do all my homework and shit at 3 a.m. the night before it was due.
That's what I would do too.
Yeah.
And plus it's peaceful too, in terms of no one's bothering.
Yeah, I have become less productive at night though, as I'm saying, like I've gotten older. But like as I'm an adult, like I'm realizing more and more that I can be just more productive during the day if I get up and moving.
So if you go to bed at 2, 3, what time are you waking up then?
Like 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're
getting like between 7 and 8.
That's not bad.
Usually.
I'm a little more like 4 a.m. to noon now.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was it depends on traveling wise.
Yeah.
So you still stay with people when you go to cities to save some cash?
Yeah, if it's someone like this is like my best friend from college, and he has a full guest bedroom, guest bathroom.
Separate.
And it's like, they've got like a steam shower in there. It's like nicer than the hotel I would get. If it's like a close friend, it's nice because you can also, that's how you kind of keep in touch. Like we'll have like a couple meals together then. But yeah, I take the hotel in most cities now because I don't like doing like the, can I please stay on your couch?
To me, it's because of our hours. Like, my rule is, if they have a separate location and it's nice like that, that's a no-brainer.
Right.
If it's someone that I like hanging out with, I'll do it as long as they don't have kids.
Yeah.
Because if the kids are going to wake up at 7 and 8 a.m. and fuck up my whole schedule before a show, that's because we're working at night and it's like we need to sleep.
I know, it's so funny. Like, because not everyone gets on board with it. Like, these people do. Like, I woke up at 11 today. They had been awake for probably 6 hours.
Yeah.
They have a 1-year-old. But it's like
separate.
You can't hear it at all. So, but it's funny because they get it. Whereas like, there's other people where I have to be like, I need to sleep till noon.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? They probably think I'm just a huge burnout.
It's such a fucking bullshit thing because people think we're being lazy, but it's like, dude, we're working at night.
Yeah.
We can't fall asleep after.
No.
It's like,
And now, like, being in New York, the shows just go later. Like, I sometimes I'm getting on stage at 1:45 in the morning, and then it's like, so now I'm not home till 3:30, and I'm awake.
It takes a while to come down from the show.
Yeah.
So let's talk about now. You said you're not as productive. What are you doing after shows now?
I'm being a little more honest with myself. Because I used to be like, I used to also have a day job. So, like, sometimes it was like my creative time has to be after shows at night. Because I would work till like 7 or whatever, go do shows, and then I'm like, if I want to write or edit something, it has to be after shows.
Right.
But that was giving me a little bit of anxiety because then when I wouldn't do that, I'd feel like I was failing. And that is just this weird spiral to get into where like now every night when I'm going to bed, I feel guilty for going to bed without having done something creative.
Right.
And then I learned about that. That's this thing called bedtime procrastination where you don't go to sleep because you feel like you haven't accomplished enough in the
Right.
day, but you're not actually accomplishing anything while you're doing that. You're just kind of staying awake to stay awake.
For me, if I don't know if it qualifies, I'm just thinking about all the stuff I have to do the next
Yeah,
day.
because you're like, I didn't do any of this today. So
Yeah.
then it's like, I have to do this tomorrow. But you don't end up like doing it then. It's different if you're like, okay, let me knock this out. Okay, go back to your question, what am I doing now? I'm a little bit more like, all right, this time after shows where I know I'm going to be awake, it's kind of like, it's my little like goblin time. I can do whatever I want.
Right.
I can go home, I can eat, I can get high. I smoke weed a decent amount, kind of like a sneaky weed guy. Most people don't think I am, but I'm not like a social weed guy really, but I'll go home and I'll like get high and then like watch. That's when I'll like watch a TV show that I love, or
Right.
like, you know, I'll play video games once in a while. I'm not really a big
I'm not a
gamer, but sometimes I need like something to do that isn't. It's just not like trying to do something creative and
Comedy-wise,
productive. Yeah.
Some lunatics on this show have said that that's when they listen to their sets from that night, and to me, that's the craziest thing in the world.
Oh, well,
I could
that's
never-
tough news. That's what I
You do that?
I do it on my way home every day.
The show that you just did.
Mhm.
Oh God, I can't. I
Yeah.
can't do it.
If it's like
Is it productive?
if it's like really bad, like if I know it's like a really bad set, I'll listen to it the next day because that's like
If
I
it's a
don't wanna
good
go to
set,
bed.
you listen to it.
Well, even if it's just like anywhere in between, and I know there's things to learn from it, like I think just like
It's fresh in your head.
anytime you listen, yeah, because you're like, that's why I said it that way. You know, this is what was going on, and
Yeah.
you remember it a little bit more. Also, if I go more than 2 days without listening to a set, I'll never go back to it.
I like to listen to the set right before the show the next day because I'm like, okay,
Oh, that's probably smart too.
that's what I said that worked last
Yeah.
night. That didn't work. Or in the
I take
shower.
little notes. Oh, the shower's great.
The best time.
I
'cause
have a
you can't-
waterproof notebook.
Yeah, I want to get one of those.
It's great. It's amazing.
Where'd you get it? Amazon?
Amazon, yeah.
Amazon
just
Temu, yeah.
Amazon, yeah, it's probably, it doesn't work. Me and Tim Smith always talk about that. Tim takes like 4-hour showers on the road.
Really?
He just writes in there all
Are you
day.
guys roommates now? And
No.
Okay.
We've actually never been roommates. We just
I
had a
know.
fake podcast
The show, yeah.
He won't admit this, but it's basically separate. It's like sensory deprivation tank. He turns the lights off. And he's like, and then the shower is basically just white noise. And I'm like, yeah, you're meditating. And he's like, no, I'm just writing in there. But it's sensory deprivation.
He's jerking off.
It's crazy. Yeah, probably jerking off.
He's doing like a couple sessions on
Yeah.
Brazzers.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
After the shows when you're on the road, you're going on the road again tomorrow.
Yeah.
You go back to the hotel. You've listened to your set.
Yeah.
You're up for another 2 hours in
Yeah.
a town like Omaha.
Yeah.
Everything's closed. What are you doing?
Watching
The
TV.
TV.
Yeah. I've been reading a little bit more. Like, I haven't been drinking on the road at all, and that changed things. And then sometimes when I'm really excited about stuff, I will still, like, edit clips and stuff
Yeah.
after shows. I really don't mind being stoned in a hotel room.
By yourself.
Yeah, love it. God.
Especially if this is a nice hotel, what I'll do, which is crazy too, is I'll go work out
After shows.
after shows.
Wow, that is crazy.
You get it out of the way.
I mean,
and
that's killer.
In terms of bedtime procrastination, then the next day you can
Damn, that's amazing.
It's a great move.
And then you're showering and ready for bed. You're probably beat.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'll go on the treadmill, especially because it's like just at the last 2 minutes of it, you're just running it out, and then
Yeah.
you're like, I'm gonna fucking sleep
I'm
so
done.
well.
Yeah.
And then if it's a long weekend, I'll have one bed where it's like the non-shower bed, where it's like
Yep.
I wouldn't even shower,
yeah.
just crash, and then the other one's like the clean hair bed.
Oh man, dude, I have a snack bed and sleep bed.
Snack bed?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'll eat in one bed and then sleep in the other one. That's a real dirtbag road dog move. But I've eaten many a full pizza in a bed and then moved over to the other one.
Are you eating after shows too? Like that's the only thing I need right after shows. Fucking huge meal because I don't like.
Yeah,
eating
I don't eat
a show.
before.
Yeah.
But it's hard to eat
On the road.
okay out there because like that part is tough. Honestly, Kelsey Cook has taught me a lot. She goes to Whole Foods in almost every city
Yeah.
when she lands and just gets like she'll get like chips and guac and like fruit and
Healthy
like
stuff.
decent stuff to eat afterwards that are still like, you know, we'll snag some like sweets and stuff that are like still like you get a treat after the show.
Yeah, but yeah, some places like God, where was I last time? It was like there was nothing fucking open,
I know.
and I went to Applebee's.
Applebee's is not
It's
the
pretty
worst.
good.
I mean, I've had to go to like Taco Bell several times.
Taco Bell
you know?
I won't do on the road because
It ruins your week.
yeah, but Applebee's you think that it's healthy, but the calorie count on that shit is fucking redonkulous.
Why?
Like a burger is like 1,800 calories there.
God, they're just loading on
It's
like
all
the
fucking
sauce and
even the
cheese
most
and
basic
bacon,
thing. You know, like this is healthy. It's not.
No.
Do you ever have situations where you've kind of like you should have been like, I should have been asleep a while ago. You were up
Yeah,
late.
I was thinking about this. I have one good one in Chicago. This was like right at the end of the pandemic, I think. I had just come back to Chicago, but I didn't have a lease yet. I was moving into a place in like October. But shows had started back up, so that's why I came back early. I was staying with my sister and her husband. I think I did a show. I did like my first ever set at Zany's, I think. And there was this girl that me and her kind of like dated very briefly right before the pandemic. We kind of stayed in touch, but we didn't date. We just like went on one date and then stayed in touch. But we had never hooked up. And I felt like we were just kind of like staying in touch to like one day cross each other off the list, you know? Like it wasn't, I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. She knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. And I'm back in Chicago. I do the set at Zany's. I at Old Town Ale House till like 4 a.m.
Right.
And then this girl happened to be out late and she like hits me up and she's like, you should come over. And I'm like, are you sure? Like I'm going to get there at like 5 a.m. And she's like, yeah, I'm up, whatever. I had already gotten back to my sister's place. So now I'm like sneaking out of my sister's place. And
after Old Town Ale House, you went to your sister's place?
I went back because she wasn't responding. And then she was like, come over. And I was like, I'm only in Chicago for like 2 more days or something. So I was like, I got to do it. And I sneak back out of my sister's place. Uber over there. It's like a 25-minute Uber. It's from Avondale to like Gold Coast.
Oh, God.
And I get there and she has fallen asleep. And she's not answering, and I'm standing there buzzing the door, and like the sun is starting to peak, like it's starting to get light again. And I just remember standing there being like, what the hell am I doing right now? Like I don't even like this girl. And now I have to go back. I had to Uber back and like sneak back in, and I'm not kidding. They woke up probably 15 minutes after I got back to like start their day.
Yeah.
And I felt like such a piece of human garbage. That day kind of changed me. I didn't even know what I was chasing there. It's just like this weird...
Yeah. Well, it's your dick running your life. Anything over 30, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Did she call you back and apologize?
Oh my God, yeah. It was like
the next day.
But we never ended up getting together.
Were you like kind of a hound?
Not really.
Fuck boy? You don't seem like...
No, I never really had like a fuck boy era. Through my 20s, I was never a relationship person though. I mean, I really like dramatically went like, I can't date anyone and do comedy. I fully believed it. Part of it like paid off. It was like a little insane. Some of the mindset I had was like a little crazy.
You wouldn't date, or you wouldn't go on dates, or wouldn't be in a
I was
relationship?
hardly going on dates. The last like, especially post-pandemic, I was just like, I just didn't for like 2 years. I don't know. I like wouldn't let people in 2 times in a row. Kind of dated someone very briefly, and then comedy immediately got between us. They were less impressed with it right away because I wasn't doing anything cool at the time. I was like, I'd be like, yeah, no, sorry, we can't hang out anymore this weekend. I have to go host a show in Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
You're interning on a show at the Laugh.
Legitimately, like shit like that, where it's like that's what I'm prioritizing over this grown woman, and I would agree that they're like, this is crazy. I'm like, I know. But I have to do this, so sorry, I'm just going to close off. And I just kind of put my walls up for a while.
Notre Dame is notorious for having prude.
It lives up to the hype.
So were you hooking up with girls at all? Or?
Yeah, a lot of non-sex hookups.
Pants, hand jobs?
Yeah, a lot of hand stuff. A lot of, I mean, people were fucking. It was like normal, but it's like, like that's like where I lost my virginity. But it's like, it's like not less of a hookup culture. Actually, kind of a big hookup culture. Less of a sex culture than outside the world. Because the Catholic thing still,
Soaking was big.
The Catholic thing was still present there.
For me, I was like the girlfriend, a friend of all the girls. Like no one was hooking up with me in high school.
Okay.
Then when I got to college, I just became like this hound where I was like, I just got to hook up. So like your story about the Uber at 5 a.m., like that was me. And I have a joke about it now where someone's like, come pick me up. I'm like, where are you? And it's a true story. In the joke I say Milwaukee.
I'll
be there in 95 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a true story. I drove to like the way ass suburbs to pick someone up just to hook up. And then of course you're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, that's a long ride home.
But the great thing about getting old is like now I'm just like, that's how I think now. I'm like, I ruled
the road thing out pretty early too. Of like, I don't like hook up with anyone on the road. Well, now I'm in a relationship now. It happened for most of the last year.
Right.
Before that, it was like I ruled it out because it was like this is empty. I know a lot of people that do hook up a lot on the road, and they are not happy.
If you ever do a show with like older road dogs,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
still
That's
like
what I'm talking about.
coos hounds, and
Yeah.
they're just like like
there's a darkness there that is
it's so
horrifying.
dark.
Yeah.
It's so dark.
I'm like, that's not where the meaning that you're searching for is.
It's
like,
not.
you gotta stop.
But like to see these old men that are just like, we're gonna go here, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna go back to the hotel.
Yeah.
And I'm fine.
I'm not trying to like absolutely hate myself at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And what gets me home is like, I like getting a little high, and that's like kind of my treat, especially that I don't drink on the road anymore. It's like I get a little high, and then that's like I want to be alone if I'm stoned, and then it's like you can watch a movie. I love watching cable TV. It's like, there's gonna be some movie that you can watch the second half of that you would never watch. Anyways,
I like watching local television, especially in smaller towns where I just watch their news and they're like, oh man, like this is your newscaster?
Yeah.
And then sometimes you're like, you get enveloped in their lead story. And
Yeah.
you're like, alligator kills a local chihuahua. You're like,
figure
what
this out.
happened?
Yeah.
I want to know. And it's
Start
like the
Googling
top
it,
story
yeah.
in St. Cloud, Florida. Have you, where do you normally write now? When do you normally write now? If
a lot of airplanes.
Airplanes.
I'm writing on planes a lot. And then I'm writing pretty much just on the road. Because when I'm in New York, I'm at the cellar every night.
You know.
And that's when it's like, when I go up there, I'm not doing anything new. It's all like, it's all the hits. So I'm kind of just like sharpening. I'll write like tags while I'm there for that stuff. And on the train to and from, I like doing a little coffee walk. That's like kind of my only routine I've maintained in my whole life. Every day, no matter where I am, I get an iced coffee and walk around for at least like 45 minutes. Try to do like an hour and a half.
Listening to sets?
Listening to sets, brainstorming, listening to like ambient music, and then I'll get to somewhere like a park or a coffee shop and I'll write down my ideas that I had. That's often where I'll write stuff up. I did that this morning, wrote a couple things based on the show last night. I'm not great at writing out word for word jokes. I kind of need to say it out on stage.
That's how I write.
There's a couple rooms in New York that I can try new stuff at.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is my new proudest thing when I'm headlining. I write down all the new jokes that I want to try, even if they're completely like a vague idea of a joke. And I have that on a list, and if I'm headlining, I give it to someone in the crowd. And then in between jokes that hit, I just go like, all right, give me one of the new ones I have to do. Because otherwise, like, I won't do it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, otherwise I'll skip over it because I'm like, I don't think it's good. And so, they choose, they're like, oh, dude, the Happy Gilmore, whatever it is. And then it's like a very fun crowd interaction. And I haven't really seen
They're already
it.
on board.
So I'm kind of like, all right, this might be my thing. Because like I interview people in the crowd to see who should do it. And it's like a fun game to play. Yeah,
That's great.
And then they make me do it. And then if it doesn't hit, there's so much context around it being
It's
new
already funny.
that it doesn't matter.
They're on board. Yeah, that's a great idea.
It's been fun.
We're out of time, Tom.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's wrap up.
Thank you for doing the podcast. Where can people find out more about you and your
having me.
tour show?
All my social medias are SomeKidTommy, SomeKidTommy.com. Tour dates are Punch Up Live. And then New York, if anyone's in New York, doing a big headlining show for the New York Comedy Festival, November 13th.
Hell yeah.
That'll be pretty fun.
Well, Tommy, I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate seeing all the shit you've been doing. It's pretty badass.
Thanks, dude. Likewise, I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tommy, and thank you all for listening to another episode of Why Are You Awake? Go to sleep.